purely to discuss what are our next steps in terms of civic and political education. How do we bring this education even to the people who think that they know, who do not know? And now, most importantly, the people who are offline. How do we bring this education to people who are offline, and what can we individually do? So thank you so much, Wanjiro. I really just had to comment on that. Let's have Africa Center for Diplomatic Affairs going next.
Thank you. Thank you, Jelani. I want to thank other speakers who have spoken before. Even as you, just speaking from where you've left, even as you wish that some of these things are made into cartoon-like, I think it is time the Kenyan Constitution is incorporated in the AI, more especially ChatGPT. You just ask ChatGPT, what does section this say? What does the Kenyan Constitution say about my right to picket and protest? Then it gives you with every chapter. I think that one will be much easier for everyone who is online to know, besides what you are saying, which is also equally very important. Uh, Africa Center for Diplomatic Affairs basically deals in peace and peace building, capacity building, and human security. So with that, you definitely know that I may not be to the extreme, either of the extremes, but just somewhere there to find common ground for a better Kenya for all of us. What have I observed today? Businesses closed, young people in the streets, police trying to disperse protesters as much as they could, not to allow them gather at any point, and not so many people turning out as it has always been hyped on the spaces and social media platforms. So what is it that happened? We realized that it only happened again in Nairobi. Most parts of the country, it did not happen. The moment the political class regrouped, it clearly sent a message to all of us that, look, you've threatened the livelihoods and they will not allow you to do it. I have said over time and again that such a project, such an undertaking in the name of bringing change cannot be just on one approach. It must have various approaches. And to me, I've always proposed two approaches. As people are in the streets, can we have other people find their way onto the negotiation table? Because at the end of it all, a country is run on policies. These policies are irrespective of who comes in as the president. Even if tomorrow Professor Kibutha Kibwana is elected as president, he will only have to run a country on policies. He will, because if he doesn't, then we will all call him a dictator. If Okiom Tata becomes president, if he doesn't run it on policies, we will all call him a dictator. We don't want to go that direction. All we must do as Kenyans is to ensure that even as the call for good governance intensifies on the streets, there is need, and proper need for that matter, to have a, a conversation with the authorities on the policies of this country. We have policies that are not, some of them are not favorable to young people, and this has been acknowledged even by the president. We have policies that were made in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They are not in tandem with the realities of life today. Policies that were made during the poster era and the era of AI, they are policies that cannot even work as far as communication and development is concerned. So moving into the near future, what should it look like? As Wanjiro said here, that there is need to have leadership. Even ants, as many as they may be, or as few as they may be, they will always have a leader. Even in the jungle, elephants walking together, whatever kind of animals walking together, they will always have a leader. It is always there. So Gen Z or Gen Zote can't be leaderless in perpetuity. No. Remember, for this, for Gen Z or Gen Zote to also have legitimacy with and have a constructive conversation with the government as far as policies are concerned, you need that leadership, and you need what I would call as a bargaining power. Bargaining power is an umbrella. So what umbrella are you in? Is it an organization? Is it a movement? Is it a political party? What formation? That doesn't matter. Whatever formation you decide to be in that formation, then get to the negotiation table. Get your professionals in various areas. Let them dig out what must be done for this country, not just today, but in the near future, so that this country can be modeled into what we all wish it it is modeled into. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Africa Center. Appreciate your remarks. Let's have Josewa AI. You've been asking for the mic for a while. Jose, are you there? Josman, man,
Yes, I
Jose.
hope you can hear me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, hope you can hear me. Thank you. Uh, Allow me to come to this from a different point of view, though to the same angle. You're saying that we are briefing today's Nane. In my view, first I want to say that I believe the protest was not a failure, but was suppressed. It was suppressed partly from the government, which is understandable because the move to call them or to call Ruto must go had to be met with the force that the government in the office unleashed onto us. But again, it was also suppressed from our end. From our end, in the view that one, we did not move or we did not move in one angle from all of us. It seemed as if every person was pushing from one side, every person was pushing from their head, and we didn't have that center of power where each one of us or where all of us would be pushing from in one angle and in one line. Secondly, it's the issue that someone talked about previously about the logic versus emotions. We cannot have a movement like this pushed on logic and again at the same point moved on a clause that on an idea that was so wide and so ambiguous, mostly to those who are Gen X and baby boomers to understand. First, comparing this with what we heard about finance bill, it was a clear agenda that everyone wherever or all over the country could associate with. They all knew what was bad in the finance bill, and when we were opposing it, they could all associate with it. But when we just turned it to Ruto must go, very few people could associate with that. Yes, they feel the pain, they feel the anger, but it felt like we were climbing a tree from the top instead of climbing it from the bottom. My view, and this is my belief, is that we should be tackling the failures in the government an issue by an issue. If like the issue of the seeds that we are talking about, if it's the issue like the law about our farms, the law about macadamia, many of our parents back at home are growers of these products. When we try to educate them that the government is coming to registrate how one will grow their macadamias back at home, that one cannot plant a macadamia tree or groundnuts without being registered. When we try to educate them this and now call them to understand what we are fighting for, they will join the movement and they'll be part of us. But when we just push that Ruto must go, we may not go far with that kind of a hashtag. So in short, I want to say that we need to re-strategize. We need to have clear issues of what we are pushing for, and we need to move to push for all of these issues as a unity. Let's not have like we are having a battle of who is pushing more cloud than the other, who is pushing more people to the space than the other. You have the platform by having good number of followers. Can you come together? Let us have a very big civic education space where we can have as much as 100,000 people, and we talk about all these issues. From there, we will be able to move with one accord. That's my humble submission, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Jose. Asante sana. You're right. We do need to find a way to join hands. I'm going to allow Wajiro to co-host just for a few minutes. Wajiro, you can co-host, add, and choose speakers. Aziza, you can go next, and then after that, Wajiro, you can take over the hosting.
Thank you, Jelani. I will assist. Thank you very much. Who is next?
Aziza.
Aziza, please go ahead, Aziza. And then, who was next? Jelani? Was it Atlanta? Am I going on the list? Atlantis, Paul, Josephine?
You can now pick anyone after Aziza.
Okay, Aziza, I'll have Aziza, and then I'm gonna have Atlantis, Paul Iso, and Josephine in that order, please. Aziza, are you there? Okay, may we proceed with Atlantis as Aziza is getting ready?
Hi everyone, you can hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
yes, Atlantis, but your voice is a bit different.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Alright. Now, I just want to add up about the civic education.
Is it just me, or does Paul sound like a machine?
No, that's actually how it sounds.
We cannot even hear what he's saying.
No, we can't. Okay, as you're getting yourself together, Josephine, could you please proceed?
Thank you so much, Wanshiro, for giving me this opportunity. Good evening, fellow Kenyans, wherever you are, and good morning to those who are morning time on their timelines. Yeah, my name is Josephine from Mombasa, and I want to take this opportunity to appreciate each and every person who went out there, and also condole with those who have been injured and those who have been arrested. I call upon our legal officers to assist. I understand we have around 2 legal officers who are arrested and are in Central Police Station in Nairobi. Kindly let's work hand in hand to ensure that they are out and get them on board so that we can proceed while they are outside. The other thing I would want to say is that I have learned a lot of lessons, and I've learned a lot since when I started joining these spaces. And one thing I want to say, we have made it very successfully through this space and speaking our vision and our mission is that wherever we say something that which is really driven and as a straight line, the government in one way or the other, despite that they don't acknowledge, we see them putting it in place and starting act on it. What does that tell us? In most cases, when we continue saying we are leaderless and we cannot have this, we don't have the other, it's true, we need to stand for these grounds. However, we need to have proper structures on what are we championing, what are we saying, and for that reason, we might feel like we didn't achieve because we didn't get to the State House today. But for me, it's a success because the message was out there, out loud and clear. And that's why the government deployed its machineries all over to block the ways. That means we have really achieved a lot because they were really protecting. We don't get there. That means the message was at home. So what does that mean to us? We can still champion things which are not being done right. Don't enter in a public office and then you ask for bribe and you give because that person is in that office. Come in the space here and amplify it. Let's say this is wrong, it's wicked. And we even if it means us mentioning the name of that particular officer or describing that particular officer in that office, we say this office is working wrongly and is doing 1, 2, 3. Because for that reason, the government, because it doesn't want us to go out there and march again against it, it will take action against that particular person and we will not be having such challenges. As we continue fighting the war, let's remember that a battle which is asked to be won and won successfully cannot be won in a single day. We have to keep on retrieving and replanning and reorganizing and reassessing what is the way forward. Having said that, personally, after assessing what has been happening for the last 1 month or so, I've felt there's a need, and I'm calling upon all the people who are coming from Mombasa, and we are in this space. Can we have time? We have a physical meeting so that we can come up with a structure which will work for the people in Mombasa and for the people in the diaspora and any other place in the nation to understand what are we doing and what can we do, because we need to do something, because we cannot keep on going to the streets only without retrieving and actually planning. We can retrieve, plan, and they come out very strongly, but we need to keep on guiding the government. Like the issues of IDs, we need to amplify that. And a citizen of Kenya does not stop being a citizen of Kenya after 10 years because they've been given an ID that expires. So we don't want to see an ID which has an expiry date. And we amplify that and we keep making noise on that. We can stand up there and say we need to see proper certificates of registration and good conduct within 24 hours if anyone do not have any criminal act upon themselves. If it has to take long, it should not go more than a week. And we need to amplify that and get out to these headquarters there and let them know that if we don't see this happening, then we will be working there to go and say hello to them. We need to let them understand because we have to keep them on the track. If we have a backlog of passports since last year, and the president is here telling us they are issuing passport within 10 days, 7 days. How have you as he sorted the issue of the backlog for 1 year and for those who have not received their passports? We need to hear him tell us about that. And we try to amplify that again. We need to continue amplifying. There are some officers in the public offices, and I want to say this seriously. Once you work in a public office, just try to look in the wall. Anything written in the wall, it concerns you as a citizen. There's something we call service charter. Go through that service charter. The service charter is supposed to tell you if you are going there to consult, it's supposed to take you how many minutes. If you are going there to get what information or what document, it should take you how long. Adhere to that time frame to avoid going to give bribes there for you to get a document. Once we do that, we will be starting to work on our own self and our own intelligence so that we avoid corruption moving forward. Because I'm looking forward to a nation whereby you don't need a police officer to stand on the stage and collect 50 bob from every matatu to continue messing up. I'm not looking at a situation whereby people are being taken to court because they think the judge in the court will not listen to them and will take them in prison. Let me tell you, fellow Kenyans, the judges are also human beings and they have transformed a lot. It's not like earlier when we used to be taught once you're taken into court, you just end up direct to Shimolatewa or any other prison center. But they
one more minute, Josephine, please to land.
Thank you. So, guys, let's not fear being taken to court. Be strong enough to express your feeling, and why you are accused by the court. Explain to the court, and the judge will hear you because he's a human being. And we are trying to make a nation whereby all of us we can be in unity and move forward in a nation which is free from corruption and free from any other thing. So I'm calling upon, we need to come up with different strategies on how to amplify what we want, and we make it we make it continue being done as we look forward and plan for 2027. As well, we need to establish structures of leadership so that we can make sure that everything is moving to the right direction, and we have a space whereby we can come and give feedback. People give feedback from the pillars that we have given them to champion. I think that will be of great help to us, and it will guide us well.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much
Thank you.
for giving me the opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you, Josephine. You've echoed quite a few of what the other people have said. This was not a failure. That a war is a series of battles. Maybe we're going to State House. It was the destination. Maybe what was not for today. But the point is, we did get a reaction. And when you've gotten a reaction, it means you have spooked people. And I think Ruto and his administration are spooked. We do need to have some strategy. We do need to have proper messaging. Thank you very much for that. Next, may I call upon Wakili Steve, you're next on my line, and then Abaya Oyer, and then Aziza, if you're ready. Please proceed, Wakili.
Thank you very much. And I want to salute all the patriots who are listening this particular space this evening after a very long day across the country. I first want to also thank each and every one of you for those who passed their messages of support. Today we were arrested early in the day. I think we were among the first group of people who were arrested and held at Central Police Station until around 9 p.m. That is following the protest that took place today. But when you look at how things were happening even today and the kind of violence the police were meeting, advocates were meeting, media were meeting, protesters with, it is a clear show that the head of state is in total disregard of the rule of law, and his entities such as the police force, they have been properly advised to disregard the law. Because you could see police intentionally using excessive violence on peaceful protesters who have not even disrupted a single traffic. Some of the actions that they were taking towards even the media personnel was quite unwarranted. It was in total disregard of the right to access to the information for Kenyans, of which the media plays that particular key role in doing so. And you could even see at the cells how people are being mistreated and beaten up, and some of the people who are being held at the cells were nursing serious wounds, even some of our colleagues in the legal profession. So it is quite unfortunate that even despite the protests that have been taking place for the last weeks, for the last almost 9 weeks, the president has not had an inch of it. And that probably explains why he is still back into his normal routine of moving across the country and trying to visit our mothers in the village and take a picture with them, post that they're having a breakfast there, to try and probably bring our emotions when it comes to how he got into power and how he regards mwananchi wa kawaida, how he respects border people, how he respects young people. But that is total lie. Because when you look at how he's doing things in our towns, it's very different, and how he's even managing his government is also different. The kind of people he's giving positions in government, who persons with serious credibility issue, people like David Churchill, someone with serious credibility issues and fails to meet anything in chapter 6, is the one that is in charge of a docket of ministry in this country. people who have been involved in various scandals, like Governor Oparanya. You can see them holding particular offices, and you're wondering what kind of people, or how do we select the kind of employees to work for us? Because when the president is looking for CSS, it's just like a corporation looking for employees. So there's no way you could go and pick the worst person with the worst record from where they worked before. That is the one you want to give the job, and the best job possible at the country. So it is very wrong, and I think we need to keep this vigilance on. We do a lot of education to our parents. We talk to them. We talk to our brothers and sisters in our villages, and try to let them know and appreciate some of the challenges that this poor governance is causing to our country and making our life miserable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Wakili Steve. Before you leave us, I just want to ask you two questions because you're an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, aren't you?
Yes.
So just there was a clear court order that was made about the use of force and not using excessive force and tear gas on peaceful demonstrators. Clearly, President Ruto, I don't call him president, Ruto is ignoring those court orders. What is the implication of that in Kenya? That's number one. And number two, I was curious to see that the secretary, the American secretary of, was it state them? I can't remember what the title was. Coincidentally, was in State House yesterday, a day before Nane. What was that message, and what can we make out of it that it came that visit happened just before Nane, and they were talking about respecting democracy and peaceful assemblies, etc. Please, could you comment on that?
Thank you very much. Yes, Justice Thande in Malindi gave an order about the issue of stopping the police, inspector of police, the use of excessive force, water cannons, live bullets, all those little weapons that they have been using against the peaceful protesters. But as we have been saying all through, the challenge we have and the problem that we have is we have a government that is in total disregard of the law. And that is why a court of law, which is an equal arm of government, gives an order to direct the Inspector General not to use excessive force, of which it is a constitutional requirement for the Inspector General to respect such a directive by the courts. But instead, they proceed to disregard those rules, those orders. That is probably that explains why the president, this is maybe the background of our president. Because if you can remember in 2010, when we were voting in the Constitution 2010, the president voted against the Constitution. So probably he seems to have continued to uphold that belief that we should not follow the Constitution to the letter, and also adhere to the spirit that was meant to be achieved through our Constitution. So we have a space of a government that does not respect the rule of law, and that is why these challenges we have been experiencing them, and that's why we can find it becoming a problem to deal with this regime as it is. And that's why there is serious need for a very serious change for people who respect the law and who are going to breathe life into this constitution.
Thank you very much, Wakili Steve. Shall we proceed on to the next speaker, please?
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, Paul.
Thank you, Jelani. First of all, the issue of the sovereignty of Kenya. First of all, Genzs, since this started, it's been amplifying, and then we came with to Nane, and then recently the U.S. Undersecretary Zeya traveled to Kenya and met Mr. Ruto and talked about issues about democracy, transparency, human rights, and yet those issues that still remains today. It's been a test. So why do I say that this debrief about today is being successful. The Genzs and Nane has been successful. One, it has caused the U.S. Undersecretary to come to visit President Ruto and talk about those issues we talked about, which means that what we are pushing as citizens is something very big to the extent that it affects the American interest. Remember, Mr. Ruto's government leans mainly on the foreign policy, okay, which does not benefit us if you look at it. For example, look at the bills about the seeds for the farmers. So at some point, most incrementers will find out that they will have to register with the government in order for them to have the seeds to plant in their farms. Something which is being traditional and not the case, and that's something very big. And why is that going to be the case? It's because now it is going to be controlled by certain individuals who have tenders in the government. That means Ruto and friends and family business, who are going to benefit from that. Okay, and now Ruto will do anything in his power to make sure that he remains in power, even if it means killing many citizens under his, because he's the commander in chief of the armed forces. That he won't care, because right now we're still mourning our brothers and sisters who have been killed in the recent Genzs protest. And those protests were simple, peaceful, sending the message to him, which he conceded to it too, and yielded that he had to scrap the finance bill 2024. And then, while we are now saying that he must go because he has failed his duty to protect citizens and also to make sure that the rule of law is respected in our country, he still insists and remains in power. So what am I saying? That today it's the beginning of the falling of Ruto and his government. All the crimes that have been committed under his leadership are going to be in the future or today, they are going to be held accountable. We should not allow a system whereby people can enjoy impunity. Okay, it is on record that the undersecretary of states of United States visited, and it was official. And the things that they discussed yesterday are contrary to what has happened with the police today. Okay, the police, they were on a mission to just arrest. Whether you are unlawful protester or whether you are being violent, whether you are vandalizing, which was not the case. I did not see many cases of people breaking into people's shops or property, destroying, burning tires. These were all peaceful protests. Okay. At one point, I've seen a young chap, and I think he must be under 20 years of age. He was being interviewed by an online online blogger, and he was being asked why he's there, and he talked about the issues of how our government now has turned into a dictatorship, and a dictatorship which is controlled by the West. So it is neo-colonialism that is being perpetrated in our country. And Gen Z, this younger generation, have a duty to defend that. Our forefathers fought for independence, and looks as if we have never got independence, because the rule of the gun under the influence of the Westerners or Western government is still there, still exists. Even though the US Undersecretary visited and also witnessed what is happening in Kenya, Ruto can still continue to enjoy the impunity and have dealings with the USA, even though he's a criminal. He should be indicted and be taken to the ICC for the crimes against humanity. Okay, but for as long as we allow that
1
to
minute, please,
continue,
Paul. Thank you.
yeah. So in 1 minute, sorry, yeah. As I conclude in 1 minute, moving forward, this movement is continuous, is continuing. We have things that are going to unite us, right? One, we are fighting for the right to protest, okay? And we need to get rid of the arbitrary arrests and abductions. That must stop. The bills that are coming that are not in favor, whereby, for example, your citizenship is going to be temporary, just like it is in Uganda, because Museveni is an ally of I mean, Ruto is an ally of Museveni. So everything that is happening in Kenya now, which is changing, is being transported. So that's dictatorship. Three, we have the issue of land grabbing, and this is due to the carbon credit initiatives, which benefits foreign countries that are like Arab countries that produce high carbon footprint. So they have a system whereby they come to African countries and they buy carbon credits, whereby your land will be taken by the government and you
Thank
will never
you.
even benefit.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. I think I also want to echo something that you said that I'm just not satisfied about, and it's something that you brought up, which is quite important to me. We have secretaries there coming yesterday, which is very, for me, very curious. The day before the Nane protest, and they talk about upholding democratic rights, making sure that peaceful protests are respected, and all those beautiful things. And still, today we have this protest that were tulikanyagiwa kabisa kabisa, as Wakili said, a complete disregard for the rule of law, literally the day after. So I'm just left to wonder, what was that message all about? Is it that Ruto does not care, or is he enabled by the US? Or I'm just confused about this relationship between Ruto and the US after going there and being treated like this prince of light, and then he comes back here and he behaves like a monster. And I'm just confused. If somebody can answer me that question, I mean, it's been the talk of the last 24 hours, and I just can't get an answer for it. But thank you very much, Paul.
Manjiro,
Can
I
you
have
get
an answer for you. I have an answer for you.
Who's speaking? Jelani?
Yeah, I just heard you as I was walking by. I have an answer for you.
That's fine, Jelani. Please go ahead.
The answer is the Americans, or because I've been speaking to a few people here in DC and people who are very close to the current administration, and also people who are very close to the past administration. So both sides of the divide, both Republicans and Democrats, and people do not know what is going on in Kenya. They don't know. According to them, it's skirmishes. It's a bread tax that people are unhappy about. They do not know the extent to, these things we're talking about on social media, like we think there's more than 400 people dead. Someone was shot by a sniper rifle. This is not information they have. And I think the way the local media is framing the conversation is making it seem as though our protests are not serious. So when I was talking about this, even with my classmates, my colleagues, and stuff, I could just see the shock on their faces because, yes, they had seen there's a protest in Kenya, but they didn't know the extent of it. So I don't think it's that Ruto is being enabled by the West. It's that we are not making enough noise to the point where people now can listen and understand this is actually way more serious than a handful of people on the streets with placards. So I think that's what's going on there.
But Jelani, how much more noise can we make apart from putting dead bodies online? And this has been very well reported before Ruto silenced the media. Yeah, but anyway, let's proceed. Atlantis has had his hand on for a while.
Can I quickly just in 5 seconds respond to your question?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Please.
Please, thank you. In 5 seconds, in my opinion, I still think that USA is still an issue for our democracy in Africa. They interfere everywhere. They interfere in Congo, they interfere in Uganda, they interfere in Kenya, they will interfere in all these many countries. So if their interests are being threatened by the protesters, they come in to pretend as if they care about your democracy and human rights. In the actual case, we never have democracy. We never have it. The president we have is not the president we elected. Okay, we had a lot of being as in Baba being compromised. At one point he said, Katiba, let us go and open the server. But what happened to opening the server? Okay, that's my opinion about this. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. May I move to Atlantis, and then I'm going to go to Abaya, Nothing KE, Ruto must go, and then Lavani, please.
Can you hear me? And I hope my mic is okay.
Yes, Atlantis. Now we can hear you. Thank you.
Now I want to talk about the civic education. I want to add on it. The civic education. Social media has played a major role in this revolution since we started, and I remember when we were advocating for translating even the constitution to the vernacular, just to make sure everybody, even those people in the bundus, can understand. So I just want us to embrace
Can everyone hear Atlantis, or am I just the only one who's lost her?
those people like lawyers who can help us understand the bill, livestock, the controversial bills, the livestock, the land, the one that is talking about the lands bill, so that whenever it happens, they give us a snippet and then we translate that in all our vernacular languages so that people in the bundus can understand it. That is number one. Number two, I just want you guys to understand something. You see, when we were making noise, the CSS were changed. Rather, they picked people that are, you can't say they were changed. They reshuffled people. But you see, the main problem is not even the CSS, the PSS. The PSS are the accounting officers in the ministries. They are the ones for any coin in the ministries to be spent, in the budget to be spent. The PSS are the ones who have to sign. So, like literally, if a scandal, if you see a scandal somewhere, it is the PSS signature that authorized that payment. So we need to make a lot of noise. Even these PSS, they're not clean. And if I can quote, there's a tweet that Mutahi Kagwe did a while ago that was even saying that some of these CSs, they are in their own ministries, but the PSs are more powerful than them. And what does that mean? Just take a spot check. Look at the CSs that have been appointed. Then you look at the PSs. Most of the PSs are from the same tribe. So what does that make them? They are more powerful than even these CSs that you see. So these people are celebrating that they have been given mtu wetu amepatiwa, but huyu mtu wenu hana nguvu. He is a puppet. The PS is the one who has the power because he's the accounting officers in all these ministries. I stand to be corrected, but that is what happens in these ministries. So even that day when we were at parliament, just making sure everything works, these PSs or the CSs, they wanted everything to just stop because that is the time. It was the closure of the financial year, my guys. The closure of the financial. You see these things that Ruto is always launching, and then nothing happens. When they're closing the financial year, that is when they check which money has not been utilized. They look for a way and remove that money by the end of every financial year. So on the 25th, when we are on the road, these people were seriously distressed because that is the time their things are on the pipeline. They're like, hey, these children are supposed to go back home. You understand? So, like literally, we did something, but still, we still need to do a lot. I would want to urge those who are in the art industry, please don't get tired. Make those kits, like those kits about living livestock that will be given vaccination or what. Make those kits so that even us down here, we will translate in
One
vernacular
more minute.
so that
One more
people
minute.
so that people in the bundus can understand what what we are talking about. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the CSs. You should understand the CSs are not accounting officers. They are policy makers. They're supposed to make sure policies. They are the ones who develop policies that can work and make the environment work for every other Kenyan. So we cannot even crucify them. It is the PSs. Ukumbuke kuna ofisi zingine, ministries zingine ziko mpaka na PSs wawili. That is taxpayers' money. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much, Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Atlantis. I just want to echo one thing that you said, which has been said quite a few times, but we cannot say it more. We cannot repeat it often enough. Civic education must be done in the simplest possible manner, whether it is in pictures, in vernacular, and we need to make sure that the message lands in the ear of the listener. It must be as simple as possible. And in keeping with the theme of today's talk, it is Nane debrief. Let's talk. Let's kind of keep to the topic. And sometimes I kind of just like to read some of the messages that come through to the messages. Arnold has said, I think I asked the question, what was the point of Secretary Zare's meeting yesterday in State House? And he responds, I can answer that. American government and Ruta are on the same side. We're on our own here. I think I agree with you, but Jelani has got a different take on that. The Americans probably don't know what's going on, but I think at a higher level of government, Jelani, they should know better. It's not a coincidence that they came the day before Nane. And then we have Okech Oscar. Wow, what a message. Wakikuyu mtulie. You should know by now that the power imetoka Murema and it's not coming back there soon. We know who has been using the Gen Z protests for your selfish gains. That's a very unfortunate comment from you, Okech Oscar. That is not the Kenya that we are building. We are building a Kenya that works for everybody. But we hear your sentiments, and this is a free speech forum. Thank you very much for that comment. I am going to move to, who was it? Was it Obaya next? Was
Hello,
it Obaya?
thank you.
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. I think I saw Wakili Mbugwa here, and personally, I want to say sorry for what happened today. I saw you were arrested, and it's quite unfortunate that when we were exercising our democratic rights, we get treated as animals. It's quite unfortunate. Again, there's a speaker. The reason as why I asked for a mic is because I wanted to respond to a speaker who said that we need to take time before we continue with the protest. And I want to tell her that if we take a break, there's a likelihood that this guy is very vengeful, and there's a likelihood that he'll come for us one by one. So if we give him time, no one will have peace in this country. If you ever participated in the protest, you will not like it. So I think it's good we continue as we're going. I think we will witness some change. Given that right now we don't have the opposition is in bed with the government. It is good we continue. Let us continue strategizing. You can look, for example, in history, even in Cuba, it took Fidel Castro for more than 2 years to oust Batista. At this time, we need to re-strategize, learn from our mistakes. What mistakes did we commit today? Of course, we didn't regroup. I think going forward in the next March, we need to regroup at a given point, so that it might turn out to be very hectic for the police to arrest anyone. And then I have a message for the Nairobi business community. I have nothing against you, but in some way I feel like you're making it to be very, very hectic. There is no one, absolutely no one, who is against your businesses. What we are here fighting for you, we are fighting for everyone, even those who cannot make it to the protest. Why can't you cooperate with us? Come, we can protect even your businesses. Yeah. I'm told that some of you are the ones who are sponsoring goons to attack your competitors. It's very uncouth. Come to us. Let us work together. You can even promote your businesses as we are protesting. There's no one who's coming for your business. I think that is very important. Let us ensure that we are killing even the propaganda that I'm seeing online. Even the Jimmy Wanjigi story, I don't buy it. Jimmy Wanjigi has not been active in this protest. I think he's a spectator in this protest. It's high time we deal with this propaganda that we're seeing online, because they keep on weakening us. The moment you see something, you will be weakened, and you'll think that the revolution is over. Revolutions take time. It will not be something that will come overnight. It will take time for us to achieve what we want. But I feel like we're on the right trajectory. For those who were arrested, we're very sorry. And ensure that you're not giving the police the reasons why they need to arrest you. If you can run like what Makore did, it's very important. Run if you're not in a group. But if we could be in groups, it will be very hectic for the police to arrest us. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and let us continue sharing, and let us continue with the civic education. Thank you.
Thank you, Obaya. We do not give Ruto time to rest. If we do, he's going to get stronger. We must regroup. We must rethink. We must continue with the protests. Keep the pressure on. Pressure iendelee. Pressure iendelee kabisa. Next, who had I called on next? Was it Nothing KE, and then Fly High, and then Lavani? Please proceed. 3 minutes.
Good evening,
3 minutes,
everyone.
please.
Yeah, I'd like to salute the ones we have lost, the injured, and everyone else. Allow me to highlight that as we walk through this journey, every experience we go through is a chapter in history. So people should not feel discouraged. And when we get to a dead end, it shouldn't turn into a blame game or people feeling like, oh, we are not heading in the right direction. I'm also a Christian. I'll tell you, it was only two people, Caleb and Joshua, who believed that they could conquer the promised land. So you have to you have to accept that challenges will be there, and whatever challenges we find, we build on them. So don't pick on scabs. Everyone is hurting, but the only way we need to push is forward. Other than people most of the time look at it from the physical part. I like to look at it also from the spiritual angle. I know victory is coming. I know people don't want to hear anything about the church because the church has been the biggest let down. But I also tell people, those houses of worship we go to are not exactly the church. Jesus said, "You are the church." So keep the faith. We need to attack these issues spiritually. We need to pray about it. I always say the people who were running the show in the beginning who were talking about, the chanting at midnight. Midnight is a spiritual door. So we need to push in prayer, and also if it's the policies that we don't agree with, follow through with the lawsuits, with the petitions. I still struggle to believe that on the ground people are unaware. The first protest happened in every county in Kenya, including Turkana. So I don't think there's something we have done wrong other than the infighting we have experienced once in a while, other than the voices sometimes want to come in to discourage. We should accept that there's no like clear cut path on how we need to walk on this journey, but everything we are doing, we are learning and building on our lessons. So I encourage everyone. And then this issue of saying it was not successful, there was extreme police presence. It started, this excessive force started on Tuesday when Wasingishu had planned the massive protests in Wasingishu to demand good governance, and they had highlighted their issues. And even the people on the ground are complaining about how that was handled. Now they implemented this. What happened today, it was out of fear, because the target today was State House. and they had heard people talking online that, you know, we are finding our way to the city. So some of the reaction, the excessive reaction we are coming across is because there's a fear factor. They have seen what has happened in the past, and so they don't want to be caught flat-footed. But we should continue to agitate and believe in ourselves and avoid infighting. If it's the issue of Jimmy Wanjigi, let them fight whoever they want to fight, for as long as people want to walk with us in the same direction. Because what happened to Zuma is when the government started fighting him, they strengthened him. So as they fight us, they're strengthening the movement. If it's about this issue of structure and party, I highly discourage it, because what changes a society is disruption. It's, for example, when Safaricom started doing the M-Pesa transaction, people are saying, oh, you know, including the banks were saying, if you want to do this, you either become a banking institution, and they said no. So we shouldn't also embrace fully this issue of political parties. We should look at what is the advantage of disruption, what has disrupted societies and even corporates across the globe. Then that way it will give you the strength to believe in yourself. I'd requested Jelani to give Ruben Kigame the mic. I'd seen him on the ground, and my heart is full for everyone who turned up. My heart is full for everyone who's feeling discouraged. I pray that God will meet you and encourage you in that point where you feel like we are not making headway, but silence every voice of discouragement. Those people will be there. In the end, it's better if you be the last person standing. You stand with pride. You're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for a country. Themselves, they know that the issues we are raising are real. But for me, my biggest enemy is the West, IMF, and World Bank, and I rest my case. So allow yourself to hurt, but let's move forward.
Thank you very much, Nothing KE. I don't like calling people nothing because there's nothing that you have said that's not great. It's positive vibes with a dose of reality. Thank you for that feedback. Shall we have Fly High, and then Lavani, and then Kiambu, and then I've got Fibish and Fibish Fabi. Please proceed.
All right, thank you so much. First off, I just want to encourage everyone to take heart. First of all, one of the things people do not realize is that there was a change in leadership within the police service, and the guy who is in charge is a very tactical guy. He has a long history in the force. I know because I know a couple of these guys, and so his thinking is very tactical. He's been behind the team that's been fighting Al Shabaab, so he's a guy who's very operational in his thinking. So some of the things I know they did, and someone has identified here, was they made sure no gathering would get too critical mass to allow, because what happens is like crowds tend to move like rain. Rain starts with dust, then kidogo dust particles, kidogo particles of water form around it. It's a raindrop, and then many raindrops, and they drop. So they made sure no one couldn't gather enough of us together to form that critical mass. But it is well. I want to challenge the notion that that we failed. I think maybe because many of us may not have been privy may not have really looked at the political space critically. This is actually like the events of 2005 when we had the referendum. And we all know that the Quebec administration did not recover from what happened in the referendum. If anything, the agitation that happened in the referendum was the springboard to the 07 elections. And however contentious they may be, or they were, one of the things that was notable was that you never unseat an incumbent president, but in this case, it arguably happened. You know, without wanting to get into that discourse of 07, but it has informed a lot of the work that I have done in this space of democracy, because there are things that I do in this space, apart from whatever I do as a scientist in the environment. So one of the things that I'm very, very cognizant of is that when in an environment of fear, we are in an environment that is pervasive with misinformation, and we've got so many interests right now from so many quarters that sometimes we are like We're like in that medieval punishment of being drawn and quartered. You are between four different horses pulling in different directions, and so we may not necessarily always know which way to go. But in as much as you talk about us being leaderless, we're not per se leaderless, because I believe that the series of values that we espouse that caused us to come out to oppose the finance bill and every element of new capitalism and state capture that has been happening, those values are like are like a light in us. They're the things that lead us. When you're in the dark and you don't know what to do, those are the values that give you direction, and they're like a compass that points you towards true north. So we're not truly leaderless. Each one of us is is our leader in our own way. We lead ourselves, and when we feel like our light is failing, we look around us and we draw strength from each other. So that is what I would want for us to do, to continue looking towards each other. I like the idea of let's fortify the values that we have. And again, remember that this has been a cataclysmic event in the political space. I think we have a president who's been a schemer for a very long time, par excellence, having gone through the school of Moi and again of Raila, and having been a political operative for a very long time. Is a very shrewd guy. So I think seeing this happen was a shock for him. And I think that even though we may feel like these protests may not have worked, what they have managed to achieve is a very, very, very big deal. So whereas we may not necessarily be able to push him out immediately, 07, as long as we sustain the pressure, whatever happened, we can replicate what happened in the referendum in 05 and see it and push basically this momentum all the way to 2027 and probably and see at least a change for a government that is actually for the people. Meanwhile, keep that light within you. Let's have the right values within us, because part of the infighting that we saw was that apart from the people who are willing to be bribed and bought or coerced, we also had a set of people whose interest, who basically they call it kiki, kutafuta kiki. People are glory hunting and things like that, and it's a really sad thing. But if we can be able to use this time that we're not on the streets to just basically build each other up, help each other have the right perspectives, I believe that we can continue to grow towards something that works, towards a movement that will actually lead to change for our country for the better. Let's hold our leaders accountable. Once the IBC is constituted, we hope that they will not deny it money or funding, and they will get the commissioners in time. We will be dealing with these MPs who are busy pushing funny policies, anti-constitutional policies, because at the end of the day, the oath of the president and the oath of the MPs has within the oath there's an element of safeguarding the constitution. So everything that is done in this country must be within the ambit and the framework of the constitution, and that's how we are going to do things. We are pushing for constitutionalism because that is what underpins our country, and our country will outlive us. We found it here, and it must outlive us, and it must grow and must be better and better, in spite of the fact that we're living in what is called a fallen world. Now, I would like to really apologize to. Actually, I am a believer. I am a Christian, and one of the things that I have found particularly sad is that we found ourselves in the mix of people, even men of God, who have a lot of self-interest and have not really been a true reflection of what the faith is. In fact, I feel these Gen Z kids are probably more reflective of what a Christian should be than most of these pastors have been. But thank you to all the religious leaders who we've seen on the streets, people like Pastor Gowi, other pastors who've talked about these issues at length in their churches. And we should take the same mode. Let's continue talking to our parents, the boomers, the Gen X's, people who may not necessarily have a proper understanding of what's happening. Let's keep talking to them, and let's keep agitating for justice. The anthem says justice be our shield and defender. And what we're looking for in this country is just justice, economic justice, social justice, environmental justice. We want justice for everyone, justice for the old, justice for the youth, justice for those who are parents, justice for the children, for the unborn, and for the generations to come. We just want a republic that is just. And so do not be discouraged. You guys have done a good job. We have done a good job. The Gen X's, because I'm a millennial. Gen Z's, you guys are amazing. So msife moyo. Aluta continua, not aluta kibrit. And we will continue working hard towards the realization of a republic that actually shines, leads in Africa and leads globally. Ni hayo tu kwa sasa.
Thank you so much, Fly High. You speak so well and so beautifully. I think you've just put together what everybody in this the real value of the protest. Those of us who are going to the streets, what are we fighting for? We have one shining light. We have one value. We want we want transparency, accountability. We want to build a Kenya. We want to reimagine a Kenya that works for all 58 million shareholders, where everything is fair, that we don't have a cabal of people who are just sitting and chowing our taxes, and then the rest of the people are just living in abject poverty. And that is why we're on the streets. So while you say we are leaderless, we're not completely leaderless. We are actually guided by the principles of justice, accountability, and transparency, and good governance. I think that is what you're trying to say. And thank you for putting it so beautifully. Lavani, I'm going to go to you. I don't know if I've given Kiambu an opportunity to speak. Please, if you've spoken, please could you drop your mic, because I've got about 20 more people to speak, and we need to stop at the top of the hour. So I'm going to give 3 minutes to speak for every speaker. Please drop your mic if you've already spoken, so that I can accept more speakers. Please, tafadhali. So it's Lavani, Fu, Fabish, Josewa AI, Hey Arnold. Tafadhali, let's proceed.
Thank you, Wanjiru, for this opportunity. So one thing that I would just want to begin with is to say that what we are witnessing in the country today is a blistering battle for justice. And it unites and transcends every region, ethnicity, and ages. It began by the younger generation that we are calling the Genzs. But right now we're experiencing a situation whereby all Kenyans are united in one accord to call for justice, to call for freedom in this country. And freedom is the guiding star of our revolution. The revolution that is happening today cannot be stopped, not by the police, not by the guns, not by the president himself. This is more than any one individual. This is our collective desire as a nation for a better country. And I want to associate myself with the sentiment of the previous speakers who have said that we seek justice, a society where equity and equality reigns supreme, a society where you're not judged by where you come from or who you know or how well connected you are in government, but a society that is based on merit, a meritorious society, that it doesn't matter which region of the country you hail from. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter the color of your skin or how your hair looks like. A society where awards are given to us not because we are connected to politicians or because we are members of an elite class, but we are given because you have the potential. A society that respects its people. That is what you're trying to fight for. And these values that we fight for are high values, inspired by freedom, inspired by honor, inspired by love. No matter what William Ruto does, no matter what this government does, they cannot take away these values. So tonight, I can see fellow Kenyans past the midnight hour, but we are awake because we are inspired, because we are concerned, because we love our nation. It's not because we lack any other thing to do, but just because we want a better Kenya. And this blistering battle is going to be won, and change is going to come to Kenya. No matter how much force and brutality they face upon us, we will always emerge victorious, because we are not united by money. We are not united by bonds of corruption, but we're united by bonds of honor. And that is what we insist on. We cannot give up at this particular point. I note the past few hours have been discouraging to some, and some may be tempted to even say that maybe it is time we just let go. But I can tell you that a star shines the brightest when it is darkest. It is time that we must reach out to our inner selves and ask ourselves the critical question as to why we came out in large numbers and ignored every other thing so that we can fight for this country. There are few people and the elitists who want to suppress us, who want to make us feel weak, who want to make us feel like we cannot succeed. But I can tell you this fire is not burning out. We will come out again. We will organize. We will structure ourselves, and we will emerge victorious, because the power of the people is greater than the people in power. It is obvious that they are scared. It is obvious that they are regrouping. It is obvious that they want us to remain silent, but no amount of intimidation will silence the voices of Kenyans. No amount of police brutality will stop us from marching and demanding for justice for our fallen comrades and brothers. Right now, we watch them as they jump and dance on the graves of our fallen comrades, and we say a time shall come when they shall pay. I am sure, and I can assure you, fellow Kenyans, that we are going to win this battle. This battle, we are not giving up on it. We are going to win, and we will fight till the end. You can kill some of us. You can take away some of us. You can do whatever. You can arrest some of us, but you won't arrest all of us. You won't kill all of us. We will win this battle. So I ask you, brothers and sisters, daughters and sons of the soil, this is the land that we love, the land that our forefathers gave their lives willingly so that we can live freely. Will we allow ourselves to live under the chains of a man who is a psychopath and a narcissist who thinks nothing, and he feels like he's the only man who can guide this nation to its destiny? I can assure you that for those who worry what will happen after William Ruto leaves power, I can only tell you one thing, that the sun will still rise from the east and set in the west when William Ruto leaves power. That River Tana will still flow into the Indian Ocean, and all our major rivers will still go into Lake Victoria. This land will continue to be beautiful and shine as a shiny city on the hill, and will become a vessel and an example of freedom fighters in the whole country and the whole nation of the continent of Africa. So one thing, we must remember that this is a marathon. This is not a sprint where we get results in a few minutes. This is a marathon, and we must be willing to give whatever it takes for us to achieve the results that we started. We cannot give up at this particular point. We cannot go back. There is no turning back. This is a point of no return. And William Ruto cannot be our president when we, the people, have decided that he has to go. We have a social contract with the government where we have willingly given ourselves to the leaders of this country, and we have entered into a contract that they will do according to the constitution of the republic, which is the binding principles of our nation. These are the principles that bind us as a society. And when a president and his imperialists and his puppets walk around and violate the same contract that we signed with them, they bear no moral responsibility. They bear no legitimacy to be our leaders no more. That's why we must rise every single morning. We may sing, we may dance, but whatever we do, we cannot give up. We have to face them. We have to fight them. We have to recall them. We have to form political solutions. We have to give legal solutions. We have to give societal solutions, because the president is a symbol of national unity. This man does not unite us. He separates us. The president is an example to inspire us. This man does not inspire our children. He makes us tremble in fear, because this, whatever he says, is just lies and lies upon lies. That is not the inspiration that a country needs. A country needs a leader who takes care of the interest of the people, not the interest of the IMF and the World Bank, not the
A
interest
minute,
of a
a
few
minute,
elites and
a minute,
politicians.
Lavani. A minute.
So to me, I want to say one thing, that we are not giving up. We will continue fighting. We are pressing on until we get the result, we get the prize that we have been fighting for. So, fellow Kenyans, let's unite in this cause. This is a noble cause that every one of us must give whatever it takes to make sure that we achieve the goals and the objective in honor of our nation. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Okay. I just thought I had a Martin Luther King moment right there. Thank you so much, Lavani, for those words of hope and inspiration. I think what jumps at me very much is that this government has violated the social contract that we gave them so willingly, and it is our responsibility to rise up and recall them. And it is our responsibility, not just our rights, responsibility. And we need to donate it back to those who deserve it and that those who can do right by us. So this movement, it's not a Gen Z movement, it's a Gen Zote movement. We do need to rise up. It is our responsibility to save this country from those who have stolen it from us and those who violated the social contract that we gave to them through the ballots. Thank you very much, Lavani, for those words. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, Jelani, with your permission, I'm just going to give only the people who are on the mic now because I'm looking at the time. I've got next, I think it was Brian, Brandon, Fu, and then Fabish, Ruben, in that order. And then I'm not going to accept any more speakers, please, at this point. And can we please land in 3 minutes because we are running out of time and we need to, people are tired, if you don't mind. Please proceed, Brian. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, hello everyone. I've seen the communication going on right now is that somehow that this movement has failed, and I've seen many people are in fact, the verbiage, the use of the word failed, it got me wondering why you have, in a country like Kenya, you have people who think that this is about some people failing and some people succeeding. I, in my capacity, I was not able to attend because of they blocked the road. So guys from Kiambu were not able to, okay, the ones that were using cars were not able to access. But I think from my assessment, now more than ever, because I've been doing some research and I've seen that it appears Kenya might default on the sovereign debt, and if not default, the loan that we got from the IMF to get out of this, to get us out of disarray, came with some conditions, and some of these conditions, of course, they have been overtaken by the judgment that made the 2023-2024 finance bill, unconstitutional. So what I'm going to say is that this, I feel like the pain that is going to come, not that I like pain, I'm not, I don't think anyone likes pain, but I feel like in the next couple of months, when all this settles, when Kenyans realize that Mbadi, Opio and I, Joho, and even if we had, I don't know, Milton Friedman, who was a Nobel, whatever, economics laureate, this is not a situation where, have you ever seen those problems where, I don't know, you get, even if you get the best of the best, nothing is going to give. The only thing that is going to give is us experiencing what, unfortunately, Ghana did. It's something that we could have avoided, but now the political class keep on making, keep on telling Kenyans, the communication they give out there is that, you know what, now that we have all these communities here, we have the Luos, we have everyone here, the Kikuyus, now it's going to be okay. the dimension that I feel like people and especially the political class, sometimes I feel like they do that deliberately, is that this is just kicking the can. So it's going to come. And all these people who are calling this a failed something, this thing was never going to go. All of them, it's like the veneer, whatever it is that is happening right now is window dressing. Like they're trying to explain to everyone that, you know what, we had a problem, and our problem was that Raila was on that side, Ruto was on this side. But in reality, this is an economic problem, because I don't think it's a political problem. I feel like it's more of an economic problem. And maybe if I could digress about young people, especially right now, those joining universities. There's this new thing. You see the problem, we have a president who's a contrarian, who imagines that everything needs to change and it needs to be new, and he's the one who needs to be, quote unquote, the change agent. They have introduced something which they call it the funding model, whereby they look at Wanjiru and say, you know what, yes, you're Wanjiru. This is our means measuring tool. So they look at you and then they decide, we're going to give you class B. Just like that. So you have many people joining first year that are not going to be able to join. Because now it's like, according, I don't know how they do that assessment. They say it's an assessment that works. In fact, the president came out the other day to announce that. So I feel like nothing has failed. In fact, what has happened is the political class have come together. You see, like how you separate chaff from the wheat. I feel like that people are going to see that is what has been happening, or rather that's what has happened today. So yeah, I'll leave it here and ask Jelani. I see she was doing some civic education thing. There's an inbox I sent you. You might want to look at it. It's more or less in those lines. And yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Brian, for those insights. I do believe actually that we have been on the cusp of defaulting our loans, and I think we've just been doing a bit of economic chess playing to delay the inevitable. But yeah, we've been flying too close to the sun for a long time. But thanks for your insights. So I've got Brando, Fu, Fabish, Ruben, Arnold, and then Josewa AI, and then we can please call it. Please proceed. 3 minutes each, please. Brando, are you awake? Going once? Going twice? Shall we proceed with Fu? Fu, are
Hello,
you there?
can you hear me? It's full.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Proceed.
okay, good. So I want to talk about. So I've been trying to get this idea out in these spaces. I've not had a chance. This is my first one. So basically, I know one or two things about biotech, and talking about the kind of Kenya we want. So there is a new kind of right that I think will start to emerge, which will be the right to sequence the DNA or the genetic material of organisms like plants and animals. And I think that the legislators or the lawyers who are here should push for Kenya or a future in which farmers have the right God given to sequence the DNA of the seeds that they buy, of the GMO chicken that they buy, of the chicks that they buy. So this problem occurred, for example, in a slow creeping manner. For example, you find that there's a right to repair, which happened that right now people are fighting for the right to repair for their phones, for their devices, even like in the West, farmers have been fighting for the right to repair their tractors. Where you find that you can buy a tractor from a company, but you cannot repair it. So one thing I know is that so the cost of sequencing DNA, of sequencing the genetic material of a plant or an animal is not high. It keeps going down as biotech is growing, and it's around like $500. And so that's the actual sequencing in the lab with reagents. And then the cost of analyzing the data will then be needed. You will then need a professional who can do that. But as we have more computer scientists coming out of school, these will be at the range of like below 1,500 for the crops, for example, for this crop. And so we, in the kind of future we should push for as legislators, or the legislators should push for, or the lawyers, I guess, like you, is push as much as possible for farmers to have the right to sequence the genetic material of the seeds that they're buying, of the whatever eggs or whatever it is that they are buying for from the animals. And I've seen this also with dog breeders, because I've moved around a bit in the world. So I find that, for example, dog breeders will sequence the DNA of all the dogs that they have, and then they can decide how to cross different plants.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Nane debrief.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So please,
Okay.
please, Nane debrief. Let's talk.
Okay.
Please, do you mind flying closer to the subject?
Oh, sorry. That's all I had to say. Sorry, I don't. Yeah, that's all. Okay.
No, thanks. Thank you
cool.
so much for that. Thank you.
Sorry for going off topic. Okay, cool.
Okay, thank you so much. May I have Fabish Ruben? 2 minutes, please.
Thank you so much, Jelani, Wanjiru, all our speakers and the listeners, and my president, Ruben Kigame, who is here, is my mentor. I think much has been said. I will not have much to add on, but I will just rant and amplify the voices of people who have talked that what we need now is civic education. Nothing is lost. We are still in the right trajectory, because the voice of removing the tyrant Ruto in the power cannot be quenched, cannot be extinguished. The fire keeps on burning. Today, we see it was a major success, because you see, even if we don't come to demonstrate, the police will demonstrate on our behalf. They were all over in the street, and everywhere was standstill. So we will fight either by propaganda or any means that we can use, from legal battles to ourselves physically, and even propaganda. And one thing that keep me happy is that I think we are narrowing down the narrative of this regime. You remember, immediately after election, when Azimio were demonstrating, they created a narrative that, the Azimio goons are destroying Mount Kenya businesses in the city. But you see now, it has come now upside down, that now actually they are now trying to bring a narrative that, it is Mount Kenya that they are funding the mandamanos. So they are they are falling short of narrative now. And this excitement that just come because of the CS, some regions, they went on selling their, now tuko na mtu wenu, now unaona tumewapatia, because what we were asking for was not positions. And when Ruto come and tell us that he creating government of national unity, we don't have unity problem in our country. Like now in this space, I don't know where Jelani comes from. I don't know where Wanjiru comes from. I know, yes, Ruben come from, Eldoret, but we never know each other. But we are united. Kenyans have always been united. But the ego of the political class, they want to satisfy their selfish interest. They think that when they differ because they cannot attain their selfish interest, now they want to sell that narrative to us. Very soon, they will not have anything to sell again. Now, Very soon, 2 months, hiyo narrative itaisha. Watu wa Coast wataona kwamba Joe ako pale only to satisfy himself, you know, to attain 5 billion. Watu wa Nyanza wataona kwamba Opiyo Wandayi is only there for selfish gain, and now reality will hit them. But what I'm saying is that we should stay away from that narrative of tribalism. We should engage more on civic education, twende grassroots, tufanye civic education kwa our WhatsApp group. Tafuta watu 5, tafuta watu 3, watu 2, educate, you know, tell them that what we are fighting for is for the benefit of everyone. Hii mambo ya kuambiwa kwamba ati sijui Genzs, this is not about Gen Z, is Gen zote, and it is not about positions. We don't need to have a leader. What we are saying, we don't need a boardroom meeting. We don't need negotiation. What we are saying is implement what is in the constitution. The constitution is very clear. We did a lot of dialogue when we are drafting the constitution 2010. We did a lot of dialogue when Ruto was campaigning. We signed a lot of memorandums, you know, with the youths in the universities. So what kind of dialogue, as you're asking again, to bring justice, it does not need dialogue. To end corruption, like when EACC recommends that this nominee, we have a case with him, but you went ahead, you know, give us a middle finger and nominate him to be a CS. Does that need a dialogue? So William Ruto should stop being delusional and understand that he has disconnect with Kenyans, and he cannot force himself to us. We cannot continue with this abusive relationship with William Ruto. What we are saying is we don't need to be in abusive relationship.
Okay.
So
1 minute, we're going to be strict about time.
yes, thank you. So as I learned is that we should keep the fire burning. We should now strategize, do civic education. If tutasema maybe to continue with civic education and educating our fellows until maybe tuseme Jamhuri Day, kutakuwa hakuna Jamhuri, because Jamhuri ni ile ambao tutajipatia sasa tukishatoa the tyranny. Thank you.
Asante sana Fabish, you've made some very good points. Absolutely. Keep the fire burning. We did. There were many wins. The police, the streets came to a standstill. I guess the police were protesting instead of us. I hear at some point the police outnumbered the protesters. That was fun to watch. I think you made one very important point. Is that they're making us fall back into tribal politics. I think for me, the debriefing, looking at this Nane and looking at the noise that has been going on in the social media, is that they're trying to bring us back into the tribal politics because this movement, the unity of this movement frightens them. The youth that doesn't care about the tribe and about the class, that scares them because from 1963, the politics has always been about tribe. And now all of a sudden we're saying we're classless and we're tribeless. And this is the youth vote is so big. We're looking at 15 million people who can literally form a government on their own. And that is why they're trying to bring us apart. We cannot fall for it. Civic education, absolutely correct. Let's go back to grassroots level. Let's do civic education in the most simple form language. I was just saying earlier on in this space that I went to speak to my mother, who is about 78 years old, to tell her about seeds. I told her about Mbengu, and I told her about land, that one day, mom, our ancestral land will not be ours, you'll be paying rent to the government, and that you will no longer be planting the seeds that you were planting. And she said, oh, heck not. And she went to her church and she changed her entire church and she said, how much MC? Why the rate? Why the rate? I did not need to tell her about decolonization. I did not need to tell her about the Bill of Rights with the people. I didn't need to tell her about all that. Simplify, talk to the message. You cannot sell Coca-Cola in America the way you sell it in Kiambu. Simple. Ruben, please take on.
Thank you very much. I'll be very brief. I would like to say two things. First of all, I would like to address the movement, and then I would like to touch on some issues to do with legal concerns. On the movement, I'll begin with what you just said last, and that's you have 15 million people that can actually form government. But we have reduced ourselves to what I call we need to syndrome. We need to. So we keep saying we need to, we need to, we need to. And then we get mesmerized by pronouncements such as, this is a long battle, and it's true that it's going to be a long thing. It's not something you can sprint and win at the same time. But that kind of thinking sometimes tends to block our efforts to move on. So we keep thinking, we don't need to do anything now. We need to do it in 2035, or, when there are low hanging fruits that can be taken care of. So, in terms of the movement, I don't think it's a failure, but we need to re-strategize. Number one, the X spaces are good. TikTok is good, social media is good, but it is very predictable. So every time you plan, you are basically telling your enemy what you're going to be doing next. So they prepare for you. We need to ask ourselves, is there another way of communicating a strategy that would take our enemy by surprise? We need to think about that, because they listen in. I mean, some of them are here, so they listen in, and they get organized. That's how we get defeated. Secondly, we cannot prepare to take IDs and take voter cards and so on, and fail to prepare the people that will go into government. I mean, it's ironical. I want to challenge, especially the millennials, the Gen Zs that can run for office, to get ready. I mean, how do we remove somebody and then leave a vacuum? We need leaders that can be MCAs, MPs, that will fill that parliament with integrity-driven leadership, servant leadership. So let's not imagine, one day we need to act. And in terms of strategy, I think we need to escalate beyond the demonstrations. I will keep saying that. Demonstrations are good, but we need to be smarter. And I mean, get these Gen Zs that are good at IT to do their thing. If a government is so bent on defeating you by shooting you and killing you, why don't you bring a system down? Bring the State House website down at one point and create demands. JKUAT, University of Nairobi, get ready. I think it can be done. And let them talk to you on their terms. And I can go on and on, but we need to have union leaders begin to think about boycotts of some of these things that keep these people oppressing us, because they can get money out of us, the petrol stations, the what. Even decide maybe one day we're all not going to use data for one day. If we realize, for example, that Safaricom or any telephone company was going to be against us, we can decide one day, 2 days, they'll be on their knees. The second thing I wanted to touch on is the areas of litigation and the legal concern that I think the lawyers here need to pick up. First of all, we need a serious address of the issue of abductions. After I left the Central Police Station, where I was with the Deputy LSK President this evening, my own two friends that I was with were taken in. In fact, one was resisting the abduction of another, and they were both taken to Parklands Police Station. Now, abductions, arrests, we need to address, because there is a lot of evidence, a lot of it, including killings. We need to step up the legal process. Number two, media curtailing. Which country provides for media in the constitution and then gags and shoots journalists and does the kind of things they're doing to Larry Madowo today? What kind of country is that? We need to litigate against that. Thirdly, the issue of integrity. I think we should go to court, no matter what Parliament has done to pass these guys to join government. we need to go to court and evoke Chapter 6 and Article 10 and Article 232 of our Constitution on values and integrity. And lastly, we need to litigate on the area of separation of powers, because Parliament has realized, what Kenya ought to do, they'll do whatever they can as an appendage of the executive. So perhaps it's time for us to show Parliament the door, or do something to be able to bring them on their knees, because they cannot go on that way untouched. It's late. Allow me to leave it at that. Thank you.
Now, thank you very much, Ruben. You will notice that I did not count his minutes. He is our senior. I used to listen to him when I was a girl over Joy Bringers. I remember you very well, Ruben. So
Thanks a lot.
we cannot look at the clock for you. Wewe ni senior wetu. Well, you made
Naomba msamaha.
you made very, very good points, and I agree with you in all fronts. Just from the last point that you made, the court has made certain pronouncements about how protests should be handled. Ruto has no respect for the rule of law. We've been told they've pronounced about how to use force. It is a high court judgment. He doesn't care. So we can forget about that. He's in contempt of courts all the time. I agree with you that tactical warfare, technology, the young people need to come together and figure out what to do with their brains. And now you mentioned something about political leadership in the youth. Now, this is something we've been trying to broach for a long time, and there's been a bit of resistance around getting organized and around leadership. This movement has been great. It's been formless. It caught them by surprise at the beginning, and it was great. But it can't remain like that. Now, a previous speaker talked to us about talking about implementing the constitution. We just want them to implement the constitution. We just want them to implement. They never have, they never will. Right? They have Ruto himself. He did not. He was anti the constitution. And even when they took power with Uhuru, they never implemented the constitution. They have shown a complete disdain for human rights, for the rule of law, for how they borrow money, for how they pass laws, for how they do everything. Even today, they showed us Mtadu by swearing in a cabinet secretaries who have no integrity and have no capacity to do the work that they're supposed to do. So what Senior Ruben is trying to say, which is what we've been trying to broach, young people, we do need to get organized into some sort of a party, because there is no need to do all this without you people showing up and taking political positions. I want you guys to sit in parliament. You've got to go up, you've got to show up, because if they won't implement the constitution, who will? It has to be you. Why are we in the streets? We are fighting for the rule of law. We are fighting for a better Kenya. They will not do it. It doesn't matter how long we undermine. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I think, sorry, the answer is not a party. The answer is a movement.
Yes.
Because a movement brings together all the different components, and that includes parties. It includes organized groups, NGOs. You bring in civil society into a space, like you said earlier. There are specialists here that can take different positions in that. Yeah, so let's form a movement. And the movement will produce leaders.
Thank you. All right, Ruben, thank you very much. Arnold, are you there, Arnold?
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yes, we can. Thanks.
Cool. I'll be quick. Feel free to cut me off if I've surpassed my 3 minutes, but I'll be within that. Just to start off with a comment I said earlier, when you asked about America, right? Just a reminder, remember, Americans are the ones who are pushing for the finance bill to be passed at first, right? So it is not a far-fetched idea that Ruto and the Americans are on the same side, and all this thing that happened yesterday was just a PR stunt for people to think that they are there to support the right of the people to protest, but America doesn't care about it. As long as they have their person in power, they have access to whatever they want. To them, it's in their benefit if we are suppressed and we cannot be able to stand for ourselves. Then the other point I wanted to say was, you actually spoke about this, was that I think here in this group, some of the comments I'm hearing, we need to really get in our heads that Ruto does not care about the constitution. Ruto will not, even in 2027, people are saying that we wait. What makes you think that he's going to give up that seat, even if he gets 1% of the vote? Like, he's shown that he'll do anything to maintain power. And as soon as we all understand that and believe that, then we need to realize how urgent it is for us to continue doing this protest, the civic education right now, and all, because waiting till 2027 is not going to yield the results that people think like that. And even also to speak to the point that Ruben said that we may end up creating a vacuum, if Ruto goes and all like that. I don't see it that way. If right now Ruto is plundering the country, is destroying everything like that. So if I think the original objective, it should be to get him out like that, and the constitution is there. It doesn't leave a vacuum. In the worst case, we can even have a council we can take over and then be able to usher in a transition. But waiting and kind of playing Ruto's game, it will just lead to a detrimental end for us. Like somebody said that we may not even a lot of us may not even survive till that time, because he's coming after everybody. And if we give him time, the more people is going to come after. Now, the last point I'd like to say was that someone earlier, way early in the call, suggested that a good tactic is that we go on there with the demonstration, but we move it out of Twitter, right? And I put this in the message board that I think we need to think of using tools like Telegram, where we can be able to put all mobilizers there, and then we coordinate from there. And then even as a homework for all of us here, since we believe so much in this movement, let's take it upon ourselves that if each one of us can find 50 people who can be able to attend, 50 to even 100 who can be able to attend the Mandamano or something like that. That's in this group. That's already 4,000 people. And if we do that across the country, we can be able to get numbers. And having these mobilizers all in one group, we can coordinate outside the eyes of the government, operatives who are here in this group, and we can be able to set up stuff, show up, and also with the element of surprise. And if we keep planning stuff and publicly saying that, hey, here the posters happening this day, that won't work. But if we mobilize and then we just say within that private sphere that, hey, we're going to meet at this time on this day, it's a normal working week and all that, I won't put all these flyers out, then the government and the police will be caught completely off guard and they will not be able to stop anything. So they will try and rush and all, but it'll be too late because people will already be in town. And just the final point is, so I traveled between Europe and Kenya, and one thing I was thinking that especially the times when I'm in diaspora, we can do is try to get people people in Europe, locals here to help also spread about the issues happening in Kenya, so that we can start also getting international attention, but coming from from the down going up. Because here the pattern is, if people start speaking about it, then government starts noticing and they can start publicly condemning. So that's some effort that diasporans can be able to do, on top of also helping fund that. Because I even spoke to some diasporans and they said that if people are going to Mandamano and all, they have no problem putting funds available to help with those people's families, so that you're not leaving a kid at home or a wife at home and you're going on the streets, at least to make sure people have something to eat and all. So yeah, we can spread resources in that way. So yeah, just finalize, it's we need to be secretive about the Mandamanos. We organize them in a place of Twitter, and yeah, and homework to each one of us. We all get at least 50 to 100 people who we can guarantee, and we say that these guys are going to show up for Mandamanos when they happen. Thank you so much, Wanjiru, and I yield back my time.
Thank you so much, Arnold, for insisting that I give you the mic. Sorry for keeping you waiting, but I think you make some very salient points. We need to be, just like Ruben, we need to be a bit more tactical. We can't do things publicly. I think we've seen that this doesn't work. But what you're talking about is exactly what I discussed about earlier on in this space, is creating centers of command, small centers of command, so that we can have forms in different groups. But I was not able to articulate the way you were articulating it. I was wondering who was going to be able to actually describe it. But everybody, it's like a network. Create a network of 50 people. Everybody can put together 50 people who believe in what we believe. And then we sort of, put everybody together in one surprise movement. But thank you very much.
And we do it in
Thank
like
you.
Telegram so that it's not like
Yeah,
we
it's
have
not public.
encryption. People cannot be able to like the government operators cannot be able to have preview to that. Then with
Yeah.
that, like we can plan everything and execute without anybody like infiltrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that feedback, Arnold. Arnold, please could you inbox me? I just need to chat with you about something.
Yeah, and also
And then Jose,
just another point on Jiro, right? I
yes.
also work in the IT space, and we also can be able to look for groups of people that can be able to. I mean, believe it or not, some of these MPs, like they have such poor. They don't even have security features on their phone like that. There's some people who like information is being leaked directly from their phones and don't even know it. So we can get some people who can help, like even like kind of like find ways to access like the phones of some of these people, like Abu Dhabi, whatever, like that. So we get preview information. Like all this stuff is
Okay.
possible. Yeah, but I'll DM you.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Josewa AI.
Thank you, Jerani and Wajiro. I don't have much to say because it's like everything you have said, and much has been amplified by my senior Ruben Kigame, whom I say a big thanks and a big thanks to him. But I just want to insist on that one more point about the 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 reason for the movement. As somebody said earlier, is that until we put that emotional urgency to everyone to come out and to everyone to know what we are fighting for, very few people will be or will be willing to join the movement. So as you say, Dijerani, what I call for us to do is to do much more of civic education, not just to the hashtag of either Ruto must go or whatever, but about what are the failures in this government. People have been talking about the issue of Ladi bill casually. Very few people in the villages know what is in that bill. I was reading about that bill on macadamia, the groundnuts, and I posted it in some of my Facebook pages, and people are wondering that people one can no longer sell or hook jugu karanga in the streets without a permit if that law is passed. Such kind of draconian rules that this government is passing, we have to educate them to everyone. Go to those people who are hawking those jugus. Tell them that there is a law in the parliament. If it is passed, they will not be allowed to hawk their jugus. Go to the parents back in the village. Tell them they will not be able to grow their groundnuts. A movement must start emotionally. If everyone is agitated, we will not even need to call or strategize for people to come out. They will come out organically. But until that point, people know exactly what we are fighting for and what we are fighting against. They will think that we are just some idle people outside there. And lastly, on the point of Ruben talked about, we can't talk about deplatforming them without preparing who to occupy those positions. I want to challenge and call upon all of us here to try and start preparing to vie for those posts. Personally, have tried before. I tried to vie for an MCA in the last election, and though I did not succeed, I had a very good lessons that I learned from the ground. I had a very good interaction I learned from the people. And from my interaction, I came to learn that there is much information people don't know about this politics. You will find that people are asking you which roads you build for us, which everything you do for us, without insisting to know what work will you do as per the position that you are seeking to buy or that you are vying for. So let us have as much as civic education, prepare to occupy these seats, and as much as we do, try to also incorporate technology. I'm a graduate of IT, and I do much of AI, trying to debrief and to rewrite these informations like the constitution and bring it in chat GPT, have such information available to the people at click of their fingers. So let us try to bring all our intelligence, all our knowledge, and help one another to achieve the targets of these goals. But the biggest of all, the reason, that emotional reason behind the movement must be drilled to every Kenyan's for us to achieve and to succeed in this movement. Then
Thank you so much, Jose. I think that is the last speaker for today. I just want to close by saying thank you so much. One of the things that has, I think, jumped at me with Jose's presentation is emotional marketing. Emotional marketing is just connecting with people's soul. Go to their pain point and talk to them as simply as possible about what they care about the most. And emotional marketing is very simple, like sports marketing. The reason why brands stick a brand into a sport like rugby is a bank will put their logo on a rugby player because they know that you love rugby so much, and because you love rugby, you will look at that particular brand on it. And I remember when I used to run my agency, we used to call emotional branding the new paradigm for connecting brands with people. That is what has jumped at me with Jose's presentation today. So kama ni njugu, enda ukaambie huyo mtu wa njugu ati hii kitu ikipita, you're not going to be able to sell njugu. The same way I went to my mom and I told her about seeds and about land. And she said, hawa Gen Z, wacha wafanye vile watafanya. Obviously, it's not about Gen Z anymore. It's about Gen Zote. Thanks very much. Normally, I say when somebody speaks about something I connect with, I look right, I look left, I follow them, and I inbox people. These places are actually about networking. If you feel somebody has spoken about something that you care about, follow them, inbox them, tell them, I like what you say. You know what? They can say yes or they can say no. So please look right, look left, follow somebody. And then, but yes, we have learned this. Nane Nane debrief was about learning what worked, what didn't work. This is a series of battles, and as Ruben says, it does not mean we have forever. Every day is a day for action because we do not know whether come 2027 this person will actually let go. So every day it's about strategizing how to get this person out of State House and his entire cabal. There are obviously constitutional ways, and this exercising Article 1 rights, which means with the people, is a constitutional way. But there are also other legal means, which I believe, Ruben, are happening at the moment. There is a case in courts that is trying to declare the current parliament unconstitutional because it doesn't meet the gender rule. Number one, there's also another one that is trying to impeach both Ruto and Gachagua based, I can't remember which article of the Constitution, but it is through a referendum. And I do believe that the lawyers are working very hard, but we still continue doing what we need to do. Jelani, thank you so much for giving me the honor to co-host your space. I don't know whether you're still there, but I think it is time to close. Are you there?
Thank you so much, Wanjiro. I really appreciate you stepping in for me. I've been here for I'd been here for a couple of hours, and I just needed to do a few
That's
things
fine.
before daylight
That's fine.
escaped me. Thank you so much, Wanjiro. Thank you so much, Arnold. Thank you so much, Ruben Kigame, and everybody, and Jose Waiai, and everybody that has spoken today. I loved hearing your ideas. We shall certainly have another space. Let me just organize myself, see if we can have another space sometime next week to just discuss this civic education and political education and how each and every one of us can participate and get it done. And even as you know, we can spend the week also seeing what other people are saying on various spaces, and when we converge, we'll have, you know, we'll be re-energized, we'll have fresh ideas, and you know, we'll keep pushing the message forward. Just to close on this space, let me direct you to something that Dr. Miguna just put up on his tweet on his page that I think is very powerful. He said on Sunday, 4th of August 2024, a day before the fearless Bangladeshis marched into their prime minister's residence and forced her out of power, the Bangladeshi police murdered about 90 innocent civilians, mostly university students. From the beginning to the end of the Gen Z-led Bangladeshi revolution, the police murdered more than 300 people in cold blood, but it did not stop the revolution. In fact, more brutal, the police became, the more angry the Bangladeshi became. The fearless Bangladeshi achieved their historical popular revolution by marching on the streets daily without a break. This is a formula that also worked recently in Burkina Faso, Sudan, and Sri Lanka. The same is going to happen in Kenya, but we must start protesting daily until Ruto falls. Tyrant Williams Ruto and his collaborators are desperate and increasingly brutal, but that won't save or protect them from the inevitable, the forceful removal from power by the people they are brutalizing. Their arrogance, bravado, and atrocities are just fueling the anger of the people and shortening the duration of their illegitimate power. No retreat, no surrender, a luta continua, viva. I love that message. I think it's best that we close there. Let's keep the spirit alive. Let's stay brave. Let's see how to push forward. If we are resilient, if we are persistent, we are going to succeed. Asanteni sana. Do have yourselves a good night.
Thank you.